Mike, let's talk also. Let's move into the stratosphere. Let's go into even farther than that. Let's go into deep space here. Just yesterday, we had a very phenomenal thing. We had two comets. We had this comet ZTF, which is behind my shoulder here on the screen. The beautiful green comet that went very close to the Earth, closest in, they say 50,000 years. But anyways, a beautiful comet. And while that was going past Earth, we had this comet over here that, let's see if I can pull that up, which basically went around the sun and didn't explode. It was 3.5 miles wide. I think it's extraordinary if you ask me. It was an extraordinary. Here, let me see if I can grab it here. It's called 96P. Here it is, folks. And let me put it up on the screen. Everybody can see it a little bit bigger. Right there. And there's actually showing it as it goes past the sun. It doesn't dive into the sun. They said it was 3.5 miles wide. Instead, it did a perihelium. You could see it as it goes by, and the sun reacts to it. Okay. And scientists are starting to say now that, wait a minute, this thing's not from our solar system. This came from outside of it. This is an interstellar comet. This is a very rare comet. Not sure even what its components are. What do you know about this, and what's your thoughts about two comets, one around the Earth, one by the sun, same day? Is that just coincidence, or is there a sign in the heavens here?
Well, I think one of the biggest things is that when we see it, right? When we see it, that's the purpose. It's almost like a reminder in it.
Yeah.
And green is certainly a color of warning, believe it or not. Believe it or not.
Wow, really?
Believe it or not. It doesn't matter if a person sees a green orb, a green comet, a green glow. It always comes right before a devastation, a massive change every single time. And I believe that because the whole world saw it, right? The true purpose was that we would see it, us. Because some of these, like in Genesis, God set everything in the heavens, the stars in the heavens and all these things for signs and for seasons, it says.
Yes.
Well, those words are for signals.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Those signs are signals and appointed times. That's God put all that in place for us. The word came first, and then the heavens were modeled after the word. So then that means God doesn't do anything accidentally.
No.
Everything he did has purpose. I strongly believe in that.
Yep.
So then everything in the heavens has a purpose. And because we can all see it, it causes us to look into the heavens in a very different way, sparks our curiosity. The average person will say, ooh, that's nice. And then they go back. We're the first ones that will say, does this mean anything? Then we'll seek the Lord, right?
Yep.
Pastor Paul, every time I've seen this happen, something major follows, something that directly impacts Christianity, it seems, every single time. They're almost like preparatory signs. Now, the greater ones will come because a lot of people are not going to pay attention to it. They'll say, well, it's just happenstance. I don't believe there's happenstance in God's creation. I don't believe that. Everything is purpose. We don't know the reason why, but things are not acting right in the heavens. They're just not.
No.
Why would the sun react to a comet?
Yeah, I
big
can't
ball of
understand
ice.
that. Yeah.
Why would that ever happen? That's crazy, right? But they're seeing that more and more.
Is the binary system that's going by, we know it's affecting the sun. It's affecting all the planets in our solar system, our whole solar system. Is it also affecting the comets, or what comets come our way? It
will affect everything. In fact, in most observations, number one, most of the systems out there do not have one sun. They have two or more suns. So the common rule in God's creation is a binary or more system.
Right.
Not just one sun, but more than that. And then, of course, with some of the forces that the spacecraft are beginning to experience, and by the way, have experienced even with Voyagers 1 and 2, there is a perturber out there. So in other words, there's something pulling at the Earth and satellites and all sorts of things that should not exist although it's been very constant. Now that force, that pull is becoming stronger and stronger. And now it's starting to shift in its angle. And what that means is if two suns are in proximity, right? They could be light years away, still in proximity. A power exchange takes place right after that. But it also comes with gaseous clouds, with more and more comets and meteorites that are not coming from normal directions, right? I think we spoke about 5 weeks ago about two objects which had a very high and unusual arc that went over our solar system. Yeah. Right? Yes. And I think I also stated that you won't hear anything about it unless it's going to be seen. And then they'll always say, wow, this came out of nowhere. We're just finding this. The truth is they have tracked many objects, right? Many, many objects out there. They just don't use one portion of the light spectrum in infrared, Pascal. They use that whole band now. They also use blue. It's not infrared. It's a blue band, right? Spectral band that they use to see. So that kind of scares folks when you show they don't want to see the blue, because those objects are the ones that are not supposed to exist. It shows too much, right? That would scare people. And so what we have is most certainly we have a protected solar system in a way that would fascinate anybody. It didn't matter what level of belief they're at. It would just fascinate an individual. It would also defeat the ideology that somehow the universe just coalesced from a bunch of molting rocks. They would throw that out, because we have a shielding in a way of rocks that maintains a pattern all the time. No matter how they're interrupted, they always reorientate, and it's not based on magnetic field lines, right? Okay. It's an amazing thing. But we're going to experience more and more debris coming in at a very high angle to our solar system as this secondary system comes in. We likely may not see the fullness of this second sun, right? But we're certainly going to experience all the forces. Okay, now, and lots of poison is coming with it. Okay, now you know how you talked about on the webinar, you mentioned the January 24th as a date and then January 31st as a date. So that's about 3 days ago. We had apparently the third inner event. We've just got information tonight that the James Webb Telescope, and they're admitting this, was knocked offline due to a galactic cosmic ray, galactic cosmic ray of radiation from outside of our solar system. And they admit that's why the James Webb Telescope went down. They've got it back up. Is that from this wave that you've been talking about? Well, these things are arming in like, they just intrude, Pascal. They're just overwhelming the heliosphere, coming in. The last two that came in, this last series of events that came in, they are about 7 times less magnitude than what's about to pour in. Right. Wow. So let's just say these were minute, but still, they had an effect, right? Neutrino detectors went off and everything else. But this next one could be said to be an X7 based on, if all the rest of them were zeros, this is an X7 coming in this month in February. February 18th, I think is the 18th, date. Yeah. That's an 18th. X7 strength, right? All right. So that's another one. This is a big one. Yeah, and I'll tell you, it's not even known where to start to be. I thought we would have a lot of data, that a lot of data would be available to gauge what we would face. No, it doesn't work that way. But we're going to have a lot of examples of inbound intruders like this. This is just one of quite a few coming in. Plus, there's something else coming in also, which is not a wave. Yeah. But it's an actual big rock. It's coming our way. So, Mike, would you say that, if I go right now to the NASA near Earth object chart, there's nothing
on the chart anywhere.
No, it's not going to be there.
It's not on there.
No,
but you're telling us, and you have been, that this event is coming in 2023. We have a big rock headed right toward us, and it's going to hit us. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. And
we'll see. We'll see we'll likely see an ocean impact from that. I'm hoping an ocean impact. I don't control it, so I don't know. But we'll get closer to a track as it comes in. I have no idea how they're going to cover it. I suspect how they will. But normally they report things like that are somewhat benign that may hit in the ocean, even cause lots of damage. They may say, we didn't see it coming, this, that, and the other.
Right.
So that means that entire topic is going to become unpopular during that time. Now, this is how counterintelligence works. They work with psychiatrists, behavioral scientists, and psychologists. And what they'll do is begin a type of rhetoric out there in the media, things like that, causing people not to even think about inbound asteroids or anything else. Hollywood will also be a large part of it. All news media outlets, every single talk show, you name it, they're going to be in on it. They're going to receive directives, and they'll start leaving certain subjects alone. Well, in our populace, if you don't talk about a certain subject, it does not exist. It takes 1 week for the public to forget about things.
So in other words,
once they forget, they'll be surprised.
When it hits, everybody will be surprised. Where did this come from? No one.
Right. And that's right. And then they'll say, well, no one saw this coming.
Do you think this impact's going to be quite significant and create tsunami?
Based on the size at its distance right now, Pastor Paul, it could be, it's going to cause some issues, right? It's not going to be a world killer, anything like that, but it'll certainly be an example that we're not living in the place we used to have 5 years ago. We're going to encounter more and more large events coming. I mean, some large events, very large events. People will see things pass in the heavens. In fact, there are a couple of, I'll say, shadows out there, Pastor Paul, which will likely skim our atmosphere, and everybody on Earth will likely see it go right past the Earth, right? And it will cast a shadow over the Earth. So imagine that one. You can't really dodge that, but by that time, I suspect we're going to be at war, right? Because of this war. Now, take notice of something. The war is escalating.
Yes, it is.
People are getting ready for nuclear armaments and defense right now. People are getting ready for chemical biological weapons to be utilized. At the same time, we're entering into a very volatile part of space. We're having brand new events that happen. We have a few new plagues that are up and coming. So we're going to entertain sickness. The CDC is going to be busy. The heavens are going to be doing what they do. We're going to have this escalation of things happening all over the place. I can almost guarantee you that no one will, maybe they can't find the number to find out what impacted what, right? And things will become so busy. I hope that people are not stressed during that time, because that's still a time of great opportunity for people to share the word of God, because people will be listening then, right? Just for a short span. But Pastor Paul, they're going to combine their resources, and they're going to reset this world in a way that nobody likes.
Yes.
Just nobody likes. And they're going to do it by force. They're not going to ask anybody to become a part of anything. What they're going to do by force. And we're going to see the biblical elements. They're going to jump right off the pages, right into people's reality.
We did this webinar back in December, Deep Impact, folks, and Mike was on that, as well as Stephen Ben Noon and Gil Brazard and Marshall Masters and some others. I can't remember everybody. And we talked about Planet X and incoming asteroids. And I think it was Stephen Ben Noon that said there were 18. He had inside info from the Pentagon that there was 18 significant incoming or inbound asteroids. Mike, you just focused in on one specifically, I guess. Can you tell us, do you know what month even, or do they know that yet?
That'll become clear, probably about the end of this month. I believe that everything will be narrowed down.
In other words, we might get a better feeling when it's coming.
Yeah. Even of the inbounds you were just talking about, Pascal, could be potentially much more than that, because every single rock that comes around the sun normally has, it has companions.
Yeah,
and we don't know how big those companions are. And still, with all the inbound tracks, we only see the ones that are reflecting in a type of way or carry a signature of certain gases, whatever the case is. But there are lots of objects out there. For example, what was it, 4 days ago? Something smacked into the ISS. They're about to have issues up there. My personal belief is that we're not going to have the ISS long, because they're running out of, they're going to have to send some fuel up there or something so it can maneuver, but it can't maneuver fast enough. The ratio of what used to come in and hit these micrometeorites that used to hit the ISS, that ratio is different now. They have increased in the last year, right?
Yeah. Even
since the first of the year. Plus, we're also hitting a cap where certain satellites are going to run out of fuel, right?
Really?
So every time this happens, they have to be blown up. These are going to have to be blown up. You just can't let those deorbit and burn up in the atmosphere. That would be a disaster. Keep in mind that some of these things have they have a tank about the size of a brick. If one of those tanks enters into the atmosphere, it could potentially destroy or poison all life on the Earth. So they cannot afford for those things to come back into the atmosphere.
Because there's so much radiation in that thing?
Well, there are a lot of radioactive particles and some chemical compounds, right, that cannot be contained. And if they get out, they're going to react with the atmosphere, and then everything changes. Now, there are lots of those satellites up there. This was before they had oversight of certain types of methods that people would use, Pastor Paul. So I want you to think of this. With all the micrometeorites that are coming in, and with all the rocks and everything else that's coming in, right? Those satellites get hit. They do get hit. That's why we launch more. That's why they go down. But the number of those that are starting to lose altitude with certain, let's just say fuel supplies on them, that number is a bit too high. By the way, it would only take one rock to hit one of those things up there in the wrong way for it to cause a chain reaction. And then many would start coming down. Right? Some of the satellites that are going up right now are sent up to observe those satellites in space that need to come down. Space Command and Air Force Command, right? They have a critical job. They have a critical job. If people understood the threat that we made ourselves hovering over the planet, if they understood that threat, they would not withhold money from Air Force Command or Space Command from getting the job done about tracking and destroying those things that we have launched that need to be destroyed before they come down. Because if they hit the atmosphere, that's it. And this has to be in coordination with every nation on the Earth. It has to be, because China has satellites, Russia has satellites, everybody has satellites. And I believe that one major event will take place, Pastor Paul, and it's just not going to be what people thought it was going to be. It's going to be devastating, but it's going to be from that junk we have out there.
So we have all this junk floating around. We have we have this huge asteroid, Apophis, that's coming in 2029 on Friday the 13th, April the 13th, 2029. But I'm hearing you say, don't even worry about that one yet, because we got several to deal with before that ever gets here.
Yes, I can. Yeah. Honestly, I don't even think about Apophis.
You don't even think about it?
I don't think about Apophis, because it's one of those projected things that are so far out there. We have so many dangers, so many transitions that are imminent, right?
Yeah.
We do, and they will most certainly take place. By the way, are people even ready for the fires this year? Are they ready for the
No, they're not ready for no fires this year and floods. No.
The ground, Pascal, has changed since last year to this year. It's altered. Mountains, entire mountain ranges have altered, have changed.
In what way? In what way?
The ground is worn out. The grounds of these a lot of these forests and things like that, all these trees have root systems, but the soils, something is happening to the soils of the entirety of the Earth.
Is it something from the magma that's rising? I mean, we just had another volcano yesterday erupt over in Vanuatu. This thing came from the bottom of the ocean, and it just was huge. And you said this was going to keep happening. They're just going to. Is that what's corrupting the soil? Is it the heat coming up, or is it the radiation falling down? I mean,
look at it this way: the soil, right? The soil is kept not only by the rain coming down, but by dead leaves, right? Dead insects.
Yes.
And at the bottom, you have microorganisms and insects that actually act as little tiny machines that keep the soils they keep them full of nutrients for plant life to actually grow. Well, what happens when it gets too hot at the lower levels and the insects can no longer tolerate that type of environment? Well, they begin to migrate. And when they migrate, they are not adding nutrients to the soil. They're not, they essentially take out the trash and put in fresh materials. That's what insects do. Right. They recycle things. God made this perfect place called Earth, and everything manages itself in it. A plant is a factory. It really is a factory that produces these perfect fruits of balanced nutrition that we need. And it's amazing to me. But anyway, it's all upset because now the Earth is heating up from the inside. It's driving the ecosystem under the soil to alter. It's just changing it. Now, all of this was foretold. Half the trees are going to there are a lot of species of trees that will die this year. They already said that many of the farms, they have to hurry with certain GMO, I'll go ahead and say it. They have to hurry with the GMO projects that they have, Pastor, because if they don't get them implemented in these farms, what they're growing is not going to survive. And by the way, the GMO, the genetic modifications to the food that we have right now, so they can withstand more radiation.
So that's why they're doing the GMOs, is to be able to handle the change of the soil, and the climate, and the radiation.
That is right. There you go. That's it. Because if somebody would look at what they're doing in this genetically modified food, they made it robust against ultraviolet, against X-rays, right? Against heat, against lack of humidity, against the absence of certain nutrients. And what they have done was go in there and make whatever it was robust against it.
But is that why we have all the chemtrails? Is the chemtrails to help to deflect the incoming the ultraviolet rays?
Chemtrails, since they wrote an article, I believe it was at the beginning of the year. I don't think a lot of people read it, but anyway, this chemtrail thing started in World War II. It began as one thing, but they eventually used it to reflect much of the ultraviolet, some of the infrared back out in space in an effort to keep the planet cool enough. And it's still not working.
It's not working.
It's just not working. No. And of course, it's going to have side effects. Of course, we're not made to inhale, heavy metals and things like that. So it's going to have a side effect, but they were trying to reflect a lot of the, some of the harmful radiation. Remember, the elite live here on this planet. They have to survive too. They want their kids to survive. This is their paradise. It's not mine. No. It's not ours. No. Because we are to be born into eternal life, but they are not. They have to keep Earth going for as long as they can.
Yeah, right? This is their heaven. This is their heaven.
Right. And so they're going to protect it at all costs. They're going to do it. And they're going to use everything in their arsenal, Pastor Paul, to do it. They've modified the animals. They modified the food and everything else, right? Yep. And they're going to keep people around as long as they can under their control, so they can keep farming the land. So they cannot live as queens and kings without subjects. They can't do it. And so they're going to do everything they can to stay alive. Unfortunately, their plans are failing. And there's some unknown things, right? Okay. We still have the month of June coming. Somehow, before the month of June, hopefully a lot of Christians will go over the story of the fallen and make that story clear. Because if they don't, a lot of people are going to have formed opinions in the month of June, July, and the months after that. Are you
anticipating some type of
other life?
Are you anticipating that some type of encounter?
Worse. Let's just say the world's going to get an education, a real education.
Are we going to have a visitation? Are the fallen ones going to?
I can't say.
Are we going to release a bunch of clones? I mean, they're cloning this. They're cloning the cows. China's so proud of now that these new cloned cows are going to produce 50% more milk than the American cows will, and We're going to get.
Well, not Walmart. They didn't beat Walmart, Pastor Paul.
They can't beat Walmart.
No, Walmart has. Have you seen the cows at Walmart?
I have not seen the cows.
6-7 foot tall cows. You've not seen that? Anyway, it's another subject.
That's another subject.
They do have them.
Yeah. So you're saying we're going to have a visitation or some type of education.
Education.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to have an education.
We better know what the fallen ones mean. We better know Genesis 6.
Yeah, because, a lot of people think they come from out there, right?
Right.
Can I just say one thing? Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
If I was a very intelligent individual and I came to a planet or a house and I looked into the house and everybody's screaming at each other, stealing from each other, beating each other up, I'm not going into that house. And they can't manage anything. I'm not going there.
Don't want to go.
Why would somebody come all this way to peek around corners in the first place? That doesn't seem too intelligent.
No.
I think what people are going to learn are the 3 holes that are in the earth. And from those 3 holes, something very ancient has been there this entire time. And all 3 have been bound, right? All 3 cannot leave those holes. How they put $15 million worth of concrete to cover up all the channels going into the holes, but now the concrete is disappearing. That's just one story.
Whoa!
How that the Pentagon will come out and begin to educate the public on what we're really dealing with. And they're going to have an objective to go from the month of June to December of that year to lay out a real narrative, because now we've entered into a time where people, unfortunately, they're going to have to start to, let's just say their belief system is going to be altered. And then there's going to be a brand new gospel released to the entirety of the world. And that comes near the time of December and January, which will uproot if a Christian is not grounded. Kind of similar to the History Channel back in 2001 when they came out with that special and they kept saying that Jesus never died on the cross. And that shook a lot of people up. Right. In fact, after that was the year 1999 going into 2000. Church attendance dropped and everything else. And then what happened? We had 9/11 and church attendance went back up. Right. Because people were attacked by an outside religion. And so that kind of, church attendance went back up again. But prior to that time, the History Channel, when they aired that documentary, church attendance was shaken. It was really shaken during that time. Well, it's about to happen again on a much deeper level with evidence, proof, and a whole bunch of other stuff. And this is going to really mess up those who are not rooted. If they're not rooted in Christ for real, they can't play around with their Christianity, with their salvation. And no one should put anything off for tomorrow. But these things are coming out this year. They're not going to wait. They're coming out this year.
And it's going to bring confusion in the earth. It's going to
more than we've ever known. And
yes. You better be strong in the faith in the Lord Jesus Christ. You better really, really know who you believe and who you believe in, and not be fooled or not be persuaded or not be enticed or not be brought into fear or to drop your Christianity or your belief system because of something that's going to be revealed to the earth, unveiled, revealed, released. Later this year. I'm sure we're going to be talking about this a whole lot more. I
hope so, Pastor Paul, because, right now, I don't believe people are prepared. They kind of fall apart of the smallest things. What will they do when proof is shown of things that are contrary to what the Bible teaches?
Yeah.
Right? Because a lot of people, I hear them say the same things. Show me evidence and then I'll believe. Unfortunately, it's not going to work that way. Faith is very important because faith is beyond evidence and proof. That means if a person has faith, it exists within them in the very heart, and Satan can't tamper with that.
No, he can't mess with it.
But if somebody can prove to you that Jesus exists, then somebody else can prove to you that he did not exist.
Right.
And so these people looking after proof, this could be that part, Pastor Paul, in the Bible when it says, that day shall not come unless there come a falling away first.
Yep. And that's
this
right.
Could be that moment. It's sad, but it could be that.
It could be what causes a great falling away.
It could be.
It's why you can't don't be fooled by, these narratives or these things that could look so real, so convincing that people will go for it. You hold fast. Faith is a substance of things you're hoping for, and it's evidence of things not seen. That's true faith. believing in things that are brought to you could completely fool you and cost you your eternal soul. You don't want to go that direction. So, Mike, it's been a fascinating show. I'm going to be thinking about this all night, about this deep impact that's coming. I'm going to be wondering, world, what's going to crawl out of the earth, what I'm going to deal with. We're going to find out. Okay. I'm going to stay focused on that. And, I appreciate you coming, tonight and sharing with us once again. Really do appreciate your time.
God bless you guys, Paul. It's always an honor.
God bless you, sir. Thank you so much. Mike around the world, folks.